Thank
Go
you for
ahead.
attending the district training today. I am Corey Laparty from the Hawkesbury Rotary Club. The technical support for this session entitled Leadership Has No Title. And now I'd like to introduce your session's leader, Cindy Piva from Kamloops West Rotary.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corey. Today we get to talk about leadership, and leadership is near and dear to my heart. But in particular, one thing that I'm not sure if people have had a chance to talk about is, do we need titles to be a leader? So that's what today's session's about. Traditionally in Rotary, we have always had titles. We've always had hierarchies. Yet in today's world, how many people are busy right now? Just give me a wave. Show me in the gallery. How many people are busy? Yeah, today we live in a very, very busy world. And busy, we almost wear busy as a badge of honor. We are all busy. Everyone's busy. So how can we help encourage leadership and possibly not even have to have a title with that? I want to get this discussion started if we can, and raise your virtual hand if you can. I just want to know from you what you feel leadership is. What do you think leadership is? And go ahead and raise your virtual hand. Hopefully you found it by now. It's located under reactions at the bottom. What is leadership? Who can tell me? And I'm okay with, if you, I can't see.
Craig Gillis that's got his hand raised.
Awesome. Craig,
right.
What is
Good
leadership?
Morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Craig. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
I am doing so well. I've always believed it as forging a team, a group of like-minded, sometimes different thinking people that are going to work together in unison to help achieve certain agreed upon goals.
Awesome. Forging a team. I love that. Thanks, Craig. Yeah. Anyone else have some ideas of what leadership is? I see Arnold with his own hand, and then is it Susie?
The leadership has many titles. It depends on what you're going to do. We have group of focus group, So you have to have a passion, take the initiative to do what you think the best.
Awesome.
And also it's you as a leader, you'll able to put together the team, work together.
Awesome.
And that way individually you can do. So you have to work together. That's called the leadership. Who has the courage, who has the stamina, who has the knowledge, how to lead people. And I have done that. Okay. So that's how I'm telling you.
Thank you. Yeah. Having passion and having the courage to lead people. Susie had an idea.
So when I first think of leadership, I think of empowerment. My background is as a registered nurse, retired now, yay. But I always found a real thing of leadership was being able to take the time to spend with even one individual to fan their flame and help them to see what leadership they have within themselves. I think the most important thing is to flush that out of people, to give them that opportunity, and then the team comes together. As opposed to picking people, it comes from the person who wants to discover that they can be it. And they come up, they step up, and it's magic.
Awesome. Thank you, Susie. Yeah.
Next we have Greg Rolsma.
To me, leadership is the ability to have others value your opinion.
Awesome. Yeah. To have others value what you have to say. Awesome. Thank you, Greg.
We have Tony Camarota or Camarada.
It's Camarota, but you're close, not to worry. I feel that, hi, Corey, by the way. I think that leadership is getting the resources to your group and allowing them to move forward and just guide them in the direction so that they can be successful in the end. So whatever resources you need, whether it's books, guest speakers, extra training, get them the resources so you can move that person ahead, which means the whole group is going to move ahead as you're working with the people in your group.
Yeah, thinking ahead to get it done. We'll take one more, Corey.
Yeah, Ray Donahue's the next on the list here.
Awesome. Ray.
Yeah, I think being part of creating a plan, and then taking the initiative to create a plan, and then being able to communicate that plan to others, and then following up. Just being a good communicator to your team and letting them run with the ball, and then following up.
Yeah, empowering them and let them do their work, right? Awesome. Thank you. So the next is, every leader has, different qualities. And I want you to think about a leader in your life. Could be a Rotarian, it could be somebody personal or somebody at work. Think about that and think of a quality that they have that makes you realize that they are an outstanding leader. So if you can type that into the chat, I'm going to ask you this time to type into the chat, and Corey's going to help me read the chat as they come up. Yeah. So just go ahead and type a quality of the leader. Thank you.
Calm and steady, good listener, integrity, inclusive, empathy.
Yeah, all of those are great qualities of a leader, aren't they?
Humor, the ability to inspire, can communicate a vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all great qualities.
Good listener, accountability, they're fair, is not a control freak.
Love it, yes.
Respectful understanding of others with our judgments. Mm-hmm. I see honest and decisive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of those are great qualities of great leader. Thanks for participating in that. So just to continue the conversation, what do we mean by leadership has no title? So go ahead and raise your hand on this one, if you can. Raise your hand on this one. What do we mean by leadership has no title? I see that David has his hand risen from before. Maybe I can ask for him. And if you can be concise with your answers, that would be awesome. So what do we mean by leadership has no title?
I don't think that you have to be a committee chair to step up and say, hey, I'll take care of that. It's a question of having vision and getting people to fall in behind you and bring it to reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, David. You don't have to be a chair to do something and be a leader, is what you're here. Yeah. Next.
We have Pam.
Pam.
So leadership to me is if you're following your dream and your passion and it comes naturally to you, so you're doing it without having a title to you attached, without any ego, going forward and taking everybody with you because they believe in the cause.
Awesome. Leading without an ego. Love that. Thank you.
Mark Edgecombe.
Hi, thanks. What do we mean by leadership has no title? I would probably like to change that a little bit to leadership needs no title.
Ooh, love it.
Because leadership has titles, and I think those are necessary sometimes, those titles, but you don't need a title to be a leader.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Great perspective. Really like that. And I see
the last one is Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think some of the strongest Rotary leaders I've ever seen have not been titled members of the club, but they have that ability to provide confidence and reassurance and energy. And that kind of leadership can be done to people on your committee or to your club president. Leadership can come from anywhere.
Yeah, love it. Leadership can come from anywhere. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate that. So this is just something that I love that kind of reflects how powerful some leaders can be and not need that title, which I love how it was put. Here's another food for thought. What does this mean? What do you think about when you see this slide? Go ahead and raise your virtual hand. Got hands.
A boss is what you see on the picture there. He is pushing the people, but a leader is actually working with the people. he's looking for solution among his peers or his followers. And so a leader does everything, whatever else everybody else does. And he's usually leading how to do it, or he is asking for solutions.
Awesome, thank you. I saw some other hands up and then I saw them go down.
We got Tracy with his hand up.
Tracy.
Hey guys, good to see you. Given the political risk, I'm gonna mention Yertle the turtle. And my favorite turtle is Mac, the fellow at the bottom of the pile. But the top picture here with the boss is definitely Yertle. And I used to provide an edited version of Yertle the turtle inside large corporations to remind people of the two forms of, well, the difference between leadership and maybe title. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you. So a couple of things that I always like to say is, you know, sometimes there is times when we have to be a boss, and often that is, you know, when security is at risk. So when you absolutely have to be safe, you know what, you got to wear your mask, whatever. Those are times when we do have to boss. Leadership is a little bit different than that. But what I like to talk about in Rotary is sometimes, and I'm sure we've all heard this, you know, I've been voluntold. Or another one is I missed a meeting and suddenly I'm chair of blank, right? So being careful of that, because sometimes we get people into leadership that, you know, having a conversation with them outside of Rotary and asking them is a way to get leaders to step up instead of, you know, that voluntolding part of Rotary. So, you know, thanks for the conversation about leadership. Some of the things, you know, at the beginning, you all talked about some qualities and you put them in chat. And so I'd like to reflect on some of these because I think they're really important. One of the things I love is, you know, a lot of leaders get their hands dirty. They're in there with people. They're not just, you know, with that title saying, okay, here's what everybody's going to do. And then they sit on the sidelines. They're in there just with everyone else. In other words, they lead by example. They don't just do it. They don't just do the small things themselves. They actually inspire others to help and do it with them. They communicate, and they communicate not just in front of people, but they communicate well individually as well. So making sure that everyone's looked after and inspiring the crowd at the same time. They're kind of multi-talented, and they are really good at building relationships. Another attribute is they're usually always speaking positively about people and about the project they're working on. Being good leaders. You know, I love Stephen Covey. He has the 7 habits. And one of the habits is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And this is a quality that sometimes is hard because we want people to understand what we say often first. They always have a vision. I heard someone say, you know, they start with a vision and they have this, the key is they have this vision of the end result before they even get started, which is something that's key to leadership. And one that I love is true leaders look up to everyone and they are always appreciative. They don't just, they don't look down, you know, that traditional hierarchy. They are thanking and having an appreciation for everyone who's working on a project. So those are just some thoughts. And now that we know a little bit more about leadership and what makes a great leader, let's have a breakout and a discussion. And we're going to break out for 15 minutes if we can. And you can see what the topics are there. What, if anything, could be holding members back from taking leadership roles? And what can we do about that? That's the breakout topic today. We're going to have 15 minutes, as you can see. Most important thing at the very beginning, could each group pick a scribe? When you come back, I would like each scribe to report one succinct original idea, meaning if you go first, you will have first choice of saying and just one idea each if we could. And we'll take as many as those as we have time for after the breakout session. I popped into every room. Thank you for letting me pop in and heard some really good discussion. So I can't wait to hear what everybody's come up with in the topic of what could be holding some members back from taking leadership roles and what can we do about that?
It looks like Rob in room 6 is the first to put his info into chat.
Awesome. Rob, where's Rob?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so if I can sum up what we talked about in one word, it would be intimidation. We think that that could be holding back people from taking on leadership roles. And there's a lot we can do around that in terms of engaging people in committees, making sure that we're communicating with them directly, having mentors in our clubs for new members, that sort of things. And then we also had a very new Rotarian in our group and who talked about how difficult it is to meet people over Zoom and how maybe clubs could be making that extra effort to do some socializing outside of our meetings, that sort of idea. So yeah, intimidation, we think that was one thing that could be holding people back from taking leadership.
So then, if I may, Rob, how did you overcome that? That was the second part. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, so in terms of making sure that you're engaging with people one-on-one, so they get to know the process, get to know, make friends in the club. If you're trying to engage people, Sarah made a great point around it often doesn't work to send out a mass email requesting help with committee work, how it's really important sometimes to, pick up the phone and have that one-on-one interaction with someone and say, hey, we're doing this thing, can you help us out? So yeah, awesome. Really making that connection.
Making that connection, awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. Next one.
Yeah, we have Ken in room 3.
Awesome, Ken.
Thanks. We had a great discussion. I think we were in room 3. A number of great points. I'll just suggest that, one of the challenges is a lack of confidence and fear and the roles not being clearly defined. We started talking a little bit more about maybe it's the understanding of leadership and kind of how triggered that word is for many people, and that we maybe need to start using the concept of followership and helping members understand that to be a good follower is very important. So I think people are, because of historical understanding of what the leader is and what they have to do and the responsibility they have, that scares people off. So there is fear, lack of confidence. So maybe we need to start talking about followership and inviting people in. That's how you get over some of these things, is you invite them in.
Awesome, thank you. So I heard you say that sometimes the responsibilities are daunting. And so just inviting people in and calling up followership and taking that pressure off. Is that what I heard? Awesome.
Yeah, I think, even the word leader scares a lot of people off. And so let's not keep using that so much. Let's just sort of talk about engagement, talk about followership, and just simply inviting people in to take a role, not necessarily to be the leader.
Nice. Awesome. Invite people in to take a role. There you go. Awesome. Awesome thoughts so far. Who's next?
Tracy in room 5.
Tracy.
Hi again. So similar but different angle on with our group. We were talking about proactive inclusion, where people need to be actively and interpersonally asked to step up, as opposed to, as was echoed, just, hey, everybody's expected to do it. Well, that's different than being personally asked. So sometimes one person or a couple people will dominate and scare people off, i.e. the intimidation factor. But if you have a culture of proactive inclusion, with a foundation of solid interpersonal relationships built on trust, you can get over a number of these humps. And that's where some clubs I've been a member of, there's not proactive inclusion, and that can stifle some leadership. But again, if there is outreach at an interpersonal level, it can overcome.
Awesome. That's a new word. I love it. Proactive inclusion. Awesome. Thank you for those thoughts, Tracy. Great. The next one.
We have Mark in room 7.
Well, we didn't have anything to say in room 7, so we could probably, no, I'm just kidding. So, you know, I love what everyone has said so far, and our group kind of has echoed what people are saying, and we kind of narrowed it down into a brief tagline. And we said, be an avenue of engagement, right? So it doesn't matter what role you have in the club, from just being a new member or being a mature member, but if you can make yourself an avenue of engagement, that in itself will facilitate that one-on-one asking, we hope, and will enable leaders to come out, right? So I think it's through engagement that we develop our leaders, and if we can become avenues of engagement, I think we're on the right track.
Awesome. Well, we've got some great thoughts so far. Be an avenue of engagement. Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
We have Sandra in room 1.
Well, we didn't come up with any catchy phrases, but our discussions were very similar to all of those before. So I tried to choose one that came up early and maybe was repeated. And it was how we have people with experience taking on roles, but maybe because they're so successful in what they do, they seem to be in those roles for a good long time. And so maybe there's a fear of asking them to step down and have someone else go in, or maybe there's just a fear of asking them to step down and they might not feel that they have a skill set that's applicable somewhere else. The idea that you get pigeonholed into a role in Rotary, sometimes based on your career experience, and that's not always what people join the organization for. So our solution was just to offer more of an inclusive, open opportunities for people to get involved and get engaged, and by doing so, it also spreads the wealth of roles within the club and leads to less burnout.
Yeah, awesome. So just offer an inclusive opportunity so everyone can be a part of it, not just one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra.
Now we have Ray in room 2.
Yeah, a lot of the same thoughts were echoed, and I think one of the things that keeps people from stepping up is the intimidation of the role. And I know in our case, we have a very dynamic club with a lot of leaders, community leaders in it. And so as a club president, you'd be a leader of leaders, which can be intimidating. I think as far as finding people to step up, somebody brought up the point of creating a succession plan, just like you would for a business. You know, trying to find those leaders early on, and don't want to use the wrong word, but I guess grooming them into a role over a period of time. And so that's, I think, having the succession plan, which is exactly, I guess, kind of what we're doing here, right here today, right now, over a 2-year period, you know, kind of a year and a half, whatever, of training and grooming and teaching. So yeah, I think just creating that succession plan and finding people that have strengths that you can work with and bring them forward.
Yeah, finding strengths. I like that. Awesome. Creating a succession plan and finding the strengths to go along with that. Awesome. Thank you, Ray.
All right. And then we have Craig in room 4.
What we really spent a lot of time talking about was awareness, and our duty and responsibility as club members to build awareness of our members, identifying what people are passionate about, matching people to interests and skills, building their confidence, providing them with mentorship, Because one of the errors that or challenges that we discovered is sometimes we burn people out. When they come in with tremendous enthusiasm and interest, we don't guide their steps into leadership. And sometimes they take on too much in their enthusiasm. And a couple of years later, we may lose those people. So it's really incumbent upon us to build that mentorship and to build that awareness and understanding of who our members are and what we feel they wish to do as leaders in our clubs.
Awesome. So building mentorship and awareness. Awesome. Love that. Wow. We've come up, did we miss anyone, Corey?
No, that was all Lucky 7 rooms.
Well, that wasn't all, because we came up with some really rich ideas. So thank you all for that. Just to sum up, I heard, one of the most difficult things is I heard some people say intimidation, some people say daunting. It's tough to take on that leadership role, especially if you're asked to lead what, you see as leaders already. So making sure you engage them one-on-one with some of the ideas, and inviting people to engage, and understanding, heard the word followership, which is great. And then another word that I heard, proactive inclusion, including everyone, and creating a culture of inclusion so that it's not just one person standing out doing everything, and building that trust. Also heard be the avenue of engagement, which is great. A lot of inclusive opportunities, and identifying people, what people's strengths are, and identifying what people want to do, and then helping them find their passion in Rotary so as not to burn them out so much. So great. Oh, and then also creating a succession plan and helping everyone find their strengths and be a part of the team, the Rotary team. So you guys are awesome. Those were some great takeaways and some great words. Thank you for that. I wrote them all down. So I want to just have a little bit more reflection on this. And so just two quick questions, and put up your hand to identify which one you'd like to speak of. Can you have leadership without titles? And do you need titles to run a Rotary Club? Those are just two thoughts that I want to have some last discussions on before we break for today.
So Michael LeClaire has his physical hand raised up.
Awesome, Michael.
Sometimes there's a structure of leadership that implies power and carries with it a certain amount of power. Sometimes just a person's physical presence, the way they carry themselves, the way they look, how big they are, carries a certain amount of power with it. But that is not the necessary factor, I believe, for leadership. There are multiple kinds of leaderships, and one is authoritarian and one is cooperative. In a club where you have volunteers, essentially you have to emphasize cooperative leadership. And so I think that's, there's been a lot of good ideas in how this can be applied. It's been a good session. The only thing I wish is that there were more younger people here, because a lot of the people here are already very good leaders. I can tell that.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. I see some hands up.
Yeah, we have Valerie from Comox 5020.
Valerie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We have an experience, and I know that one of the other members of my club is in this group as well. We couldn't find a leader for our big major fundraiser this year, which has had to change direction, obviously, because of Rotary. And 3 or 4 people stepped up. Nobody wanted to be leader. So rather than having a chair, we tell the club that we have a sofa and everybody just works from the sofa.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so you can lead without titles. You don't need them.
Awesome.
Sometimes I think they're a hindrance.
Yeah, Awesome. Thank you for those thoughts, Valerie. Another few hands up.
We have Tracy with his hand up again.
Tracy.
Just want to point out, you need roles, but not necessarily titles. That's simple.
I see Mark has his hand up.
Oh, sorry. I didn't quite hear the Mark part. Sorry. I really like the second to last comment. We have a sofa and not a chair, right? I mean, I've never pictured it that way, but that is just powerful. I really like that. You know, can you have leadership without titles? Absolutely, right? Goes without saying. I think most of our leaders in the world today have no title, right? But do you need titles to run a club? I think absolutely you need titles to run a club. At the end of the day, the buck stops with a leader, right? That has the title to make that final decision or be accountable. So as much as we don't want it to be a hindrance to how we run our clubs, you know, it's a necessity, I think. So both are true.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I've got Pam with her hand up, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Oh, Pam and Susie. Pam. There we go.
So I was thinking I agree with the last comment. Definitely with the leadership, you don't need titles, but at the same time, you do need to have a person who's in charge, who starts in a timely manner, who finishes in a timely manner, because that's, as a society, we've been trained. And that will take new generation coming up behind us would be way different. Everybody working together, they have very few boundaries, but we grew up with very strong boundaries. And Rotary Club being big organization, we'll have endless meetings. And it'll go on and on unless there was somebody who is guiding and leading. And leadership doesn't mean in a negative way. The title has to be a negative way. It's a positive. It's just saying that this person is in charge. We all work together, but these are the guidelines. So that's all it means. It doesn't mean it's necessarily a negative thing to have a title attached to somebody holding somebody responsible. Comes with accountability and responsibility. That's what it all means.
Right. It means all those things we've talked about, which great leaders have, all those attributes, right? Awesome. Thank you, Pam. Susie.
I was just starting to say that they're two very different questions. One is kind of philosophical, I guess, and we know that leadership does exist. I think we're really hung up on this word of leadership because it could mean so many things. The thing that really struck me with do you need titles to run a Rotary Club is not to show that you're in power. It's to show that people, if you have a question, you know who to go to. And you need someone to coordinate, like within a committee, you need a leader. We call them chairs. Sometimes we call them co-chairs. So I think you need to have titles to run a Rotary Club in that people know who's who in the zoo, and that changes every year, or maybe more often than that. And that's okay, because, you know, we know each of our individuals on a personal basis, not just the role they have to play, and all roles are important, being it a member or a so-called leader within a group. That's about it.
Awesome, awesome. This has been an awesome discussion. I really appreciate everyone's contribution to this. And I always like to, you know, wrap up with a quote. And can you have leadership without titles? And can you have a Rotary Club without titles, which you guys, you know, that rich discussion about, you can have both, which is also, which is awesome. You always know you have great leadership when someone can inspire everyone to do something that they think is impossible and still be able to do it. So I think some of the things that, you know, if I may summarize, we've covered a lot today, and I appreciate all the rich discussion. The discussion that I really appreciated was everybody, it sounds like the more you can engage and the more you can involve, that's just part of being a Rotarian and being a leader in Rotary, and involving everyone as much as you can. And perhaps looking at titles in different ways, You know, we talked about that intimidation factor, that busy factor I talked about at the start, and those things that keep people from perhaps taking on a leadership role. Well, if you include everybody anyway, then you don't have to worry about whether it's a title or not. So really appreciate your discussion and thinking differently about leadership and being able to talk about different things that might hold people back and how to solve that, and be able to inspire leaders in your club going forward. I hope this was helpful, and I really appreciate all of you today joining us. And if there's any questions, now's the time. Bless you, Susie. Let's go, Anne, and then I saw Michael.
Okay, I belong to a very small club, and I think the issue is everybody's going to have been president and nobody wants to do it again. So what do you do in a small club about that?
Yeah, exactly. What do you do when you have a small club and, you know, if you only have 15 members, that's not much longevity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that becomes the challenge. And getting, you know, as soon as you get a new member, all of a sudden, hey, you want to be president next year? That's not intimidating at all.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, perhaps collaborating. Anybody got an answer for Anne on that? That's great. I think that that's a rhetorical question, how to solve that. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if the club is as small as a number of 15, that there has to be a certain amount of understanding that everyone's going to take a different role. And within a club, there probably are 15 roles, and it needs to either juggle around or you have to do one in line. Oh, it's your turn. You've been here for 15 years. You're president again. Okay. Or again, the whole thing of new membership coming in, or co-chairing. It makes it more fun.
Or becoming a sofa. I love that. I'm taking that.
Yeah, sofa.
I love that. Michael, you have thought. Yeah.
I just had a comment. I had made a comment earlier about wishing young people were here and new people, and we have a few, but what I see is a lot of people who are really good leaders. And I've played a lot of leadership roles in my life, and I really appreciated this session. I almost now crave a session with people who have a lot of experience in leadership to discuss the ways that they do things, because there were a lot of good comments and good ideas. And I wanted to say your conduct of the meeting and your structure of the meeting was special, very nice. And I actually got something out of this meeting that I didn't expect to get. So thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you for those words, Michael. And yes, it's the collaborative effort of everyone's ideas that come together to make it magical. Thank you for that. I've got a couple of raised hands there.
Yeah, Norm's got his hand up.
Norm.
Hi, just a comment. Leadership is infinitely more easy when you have good resources and good processes. And Rotary has some excellent resources, and I'm not sure we're all aware of the position descriptions for, the executive positions and those types of things. So the resources in Rotary to step into those leadership roles is really robust and quite good.
Awesome. Thank you, Norm. Yes. If you've ever been on the Rotary Learning Center, Rotary International, it's got a lot of stuff there. Thank you for that. Susie.
Just a quick note to add to our conversation here is that our club is actually having a Zoom next week with all new members from the last 2 years, and any other so-called experienced Rotarians who want to be there. So all this kind of thing will be discussed and open and fun. So that's a really good way of doing things. And frankly, the Zoom is magic here because it really does include everybody. It gives them all a voice.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of people have said, hey, I'm Zoomed out, whatever. I appreciate Zoom because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do these kind of things. So, I'm seeing no more hands up. I want to say thank you again. Thanks for the rich discussion and the great takeaways.